everyone, it's a couple history group from the history of the Republic of Korea, which we must know, to the interesting world history. Subscribe, like is love. On September 17, 1988, the eyes of 160 countries around the world gathered in one place. It was here in Seoul. But after that spectacular opening ceremony, the shadow of the Cold War that separated the three countries for nearly 40 years was cast. The Eastern and Western communist and capitalist worlds were divided into two camps, bordering on each other. In that era, a small country, the Republic of Korea, created a miracle that brought the whole world together. This was not just a sporting event. In Seoul, which was almost the last Olympics of the Cold War era, it was the largest festival of peace in history, where the largest number of countries gathered in one place. Today, I will tell you that special story. To understand the Seoul Olympics, we first have to go back 8 years. The 1980 Moscow Olympics, hosted by the Soviet Union, were mired in political controversy from the start. In December 1979, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. US President Jimmy Carter took strong action. More than 60 Western countries, including the United States, West Germany, Japan, and Canada, boycotted the Moscow Olympics. In the end, it became a semi-Olympic event with only 81 countries participating. But this was just the beginning. 4 years later, at the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics, the exact opposite happened. 16 countries in the Eastern Bloc, including the Soviet Union and East Germany, refused to participate in the La Olympics, citing security reasons. But everyone knew, right, that this was retaliation against Moscow for 2 consecutive Olympics marred by political strife. Worldwide unity, which is more than the Olympic ideal, was powerless in the face of the Cold War. Will we ever see the Olympics again? The answer was to come from a small country in Asia on the other side of the globe. On 30th September 1981, the General Assembly of the International Olympic Committee in Baden-Baden, West Germany, voted to decide the venue for the 1988 Summer Olympics. There are 2 candidates, Nagoya, Japan, and Seoul, Republic of Korea. At the time, Korea was under military rule after the military coup in 1961. Economically, it was only a developing country. At a time when the national income per capita was $1,700, it was poorer than North Korea today. There were many doubts that such a country could host the Olympics properly. But it was this that changed my destiny. The Korean delegation said so. The Seoul Olympics will be a bridge between East and West. It will be a festival of peace that brings the divided world together. 52 votes to 27, Seoul's overwhelming victory. But the real challenge started now. In the mid-1980s, the world was still in the midst of the Cold War. Reagan's United States and Gorbachev's Soviet Union were engaged in an arms race, and the Korean Peninsula was the world's most tense divided state. Is it really possible for the East and West to participate in the Olympics in this situation? Many people are worried about another boycott. The biggest obstacle was North Korea. Kim Il-sung strongly opposed the Seoul Olympics and called for co-hosting. It is unacceptable to hold the Olympics only in Seoul. It should be held jointly with Pyongyang. This was North Korea's position. Negotiations between North and South Korea continued for a whopping 3 years from 1985 to 1988, mediated by the IOC. North Korea requested the holding of 8 sports, including track and field, football, and table tennis. But the negotiations broke down again and again. North Korea's demand was to effectively divide the Olympics in half, a condition that the IOC could not accept. In November 1987, Korean Air Flight 858 was blown up by North Korean operatives. The tragedy, which killed 115 people, put the Olympic Games in jeopardy. North Korea did not hesitate to take such extreme actions to disrupt the Seoul Olympics. The international community was shocked, and some countries began to step up their participation for security reasons. The Korean government felt a sense of crisis. In order to succeed at the Olympics, we had to ensure safety. The largest security system in the history of the country has been established. 200,000 police and soldiers were mobilized and a high alert was maintained throughout the Olympics. But the biggest challenge was diplomacy. How to get the Soviet Union and the Eastern Bloc countries involved. The Northern Policy announced by President Roh Tae-woo in February 1988 was a breakthrough. It promoted the improvement of relations with socialist countries, including the Soviet Union and China, delivered a powerful Soviet message through unofficial channels. The Olympics are separate from politics. Let's build peace through sport. In the summer of 1988, the Soviet Union officially announced its participation in the Seoul Olympics, then East Germany. Countries such as Poland and Czechoslovakia have also confirmed their participation. China also decided to participate for the second time after the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics. For China, which was isolated from the international community due to the Cultural Revolution, Seoul was an opportunity to return to the world stage. The results were amazing. A total of 159 countries participated. That was the longest in Olympic history at the time. That's far more than 81 countries in Moscow in 1980 and 140 in LA in 1984. The moment has finally come when the world comes together. Countries that normally cannot be gathered in one place, including the United States and the Soviet Union, East and West Germany, China, and Taiwan, gathered in Seoul. A magical scene unfolded in the athletes' village. American and Soviet players eat together. The East German and West German players exchanged jokes. It was a moment when sport crossed political barriers. Of course, there was regret. North Korea refused to participate. 6 countries, including Cuba, Ethiopia, and Nicaragua, also declared their non-participation in solidarity with North Korea. As a divided country, we had no choice but to regret it. But the fact that 159 countries came together in the Cold War system was miraculous enough. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon of September 17, 1988, that moment finally arrived. Athletes from 159 countries, led by Greece, entered the Jamsil Stadium. With 85,000 spectators and 3.5 billion viewers around the world watching, a historic moment began. When the Soviet team entered, the spectators applauded warmly. It was the first time in 8 years that the United States and the Soviet Union met in one place. The same goes for American players. Cold War veterans met in Seoul. The opening ceremony was a splendid stage that reinterpreted Korean traditional culture in a modern way. The pre-ceremony event, which began with a Samulnoy performance, became an opportunity to introduce Korean culture to the world. And finally, the moment of lighting the torch, when Song Ki-jung, winner of the 1936 Berlin Olympic Marathon, accepted the torch. Tears of emotion flowed from the audience. When the torch relay led by Jung Seung-man and Lee Young-suk was finally lit, the Jamsil main stadium was filled with fantastic fireworks. Commentators from all over the world who watched this moment were amazed with one voice. This is not just the Olympics, a symbol of world peace. During the 7-day tournament, South Korea achieved remarkable results. 12 gold medals, which was the highest achievement in Korean sports history at the time. Kim Sun-young's consecutive gold medals in archery triple crown wrestling was a moment when Korea rose to become a sports powerhouse. But there was a real change. The subway built for the Olympics, this line, Olympic Avenue, Silkworm Bridge, Han River Park, all of these were based in present-day Seoul. What was important was the change of consciousness. Welcoming people from all over the world, Koreans have developed an international sense and gained confidence. Like the slogan Dynamic Korea, Korea has been imprinted on the world as a dynamic country. The Olympics were not just a sporting event. Korea became a watershed for the leap from a military regime to a democracy, from a developing country to a developed country. Holding hands at the closing ceremony on October 2, 1988, the song was a message of unity beyond the Cold War. 1 year after the Seoul Olympics, the Berlin Wall came down, and 3 years after the Soviet Union collapsed, the Cold War disappeared into history. The Seoul Olympics marked the beginning of the Cold War. What was the world divided in Moscow in 1980 and LA in 1984? It became one again in Seoul in 1988, and that legacy continues to this day. In the fall of 1988, when a small and poor country, the Republic of Korea, created a miracle that brought the whole world together, the flame of peace burned in Seoul. We are married history. I will continue to record the moments of hope and courage that blossomed on the path that humanity has walked. Thank you.